Saints Row, in brackets 2006, is what I have to call this game now that this game is out and happens to share the same name. It's strange that there was more hope for this series 7 to 8 years ago when it seemed like Saints Row was really dead, rather than now when a reboot was just released 3 years ago. In a timeline where Volition was properly managed and we got the Saints Row reboot that we wanted, we probably would have been seeing Saints Row 2 in brackets 2025 around this time. But Volition is dead and the Saints Row IP sits with one of the worst game publishers of all time. I remember when Saints Row had its 10-year anniversary. Now it's coming up on 20 years. So let's go back 20 years. Well, even further than 20 years. I'm obsessed with PS2 ports especially, so knowing that this game started out on the PS2 makes me wonder how Saints Row would have looked on that console. Probably pretty different from the game that launched this series, but thanks to this build that has been shown off by the Strong Museum, who are focused on game history preservation, we can see gameplay from a build of Saints Row when it was still on the PS2, and the game was called Bling Bling. Alright, imagine this build with the Saints Row 1 HUD. It might look a little bit like Saints Row, but this game was in development for a few years, as most games are, and was shifted from being a PS2 game to an Xbox 360 game. Saints Row 1 is a game that's locked on the Xbox 360 and it's seemingly going to stay like that. It's a shame too because this game is really good. The game has a really enjoyable story that set up a great foundation that Saints Row 2 fully capitalized on. And as much as I love Saints Row 2 and that version of Stillwater, which is objectively better than the previous game, Saints Row 1 is a very cozy game with a map that just feels very mid-2000s. You know those posts you'll see online talking about how the world looked more colorful in the past? I feel like Stillwater and Saints Row 1 is a map that embodies that sentiment with how colorful and lively the map looks. Sure, the textures do look kind of flat, but the colors, districts, vehicles, and NPCs all bring this map together to provide a fantastic sandbox that has me looking back fondly on it. Saints Row 2's iteration of Stillwater is praised for how packed with detail it is and how much it improved on the previous version of the map, but something about Saints Row 1's map makes it maybe not more memorable but more nostalgic. It's a perfect sandbox to set the game, its story, and all of its activities. So let's start a new game and see what Saints Row in brackets 2006 has to offer us. So upon starting a new game, we're greeted with the character creator, which would go on to be one of Saints Row's defining features. This feature, like many aspects of the Saints Row series, would hit its peak in Saints Row 2. This feature is cool in this game, but its limitations can definitely be seen. You can do quite a bit and make some really freaky looking creations, but when it comes down to making a person that doesn't have this evil look in their eyes, it's not really possible. Every character that I've ever made on this game or that I've seen online has this weird Jimmy Hopkins face and squinted eyes, and the hair options are fairly limited. But I won't rag on this 2006 game for not having a crazy in-depth and good-looking character creator. These created characters have a distinct look that has grown on me over the years. But once you finish creating your character, you get a look at some of the other NPCs in the game and they don't look nearly as messed up as our character. They look fairly normal. But while we're admiring the characters, all hell breaks loose. Like really, what the hell is going on here? Execution after execution, and not a single police officer coming to the scene. And then your saviors arrive and execute another person. Then they save you. And although
there's no time to recruit,
Julius offers us a spot in the gang and we are directed to walk into this marker to start our first mission.
Yeah. Who the fuck's this guy?
Troy and I found him. We're gonna see if he'll ride with us.
Julius, if he wants to run with the Saints, he gotta be canonized.
Hey, he's right, Julius. Everyone had to do it.
You ready for this, player?
Everyone else involved.
I've seen Johnny do this 100. Stay down.
You can't hide from us!
That's enough.
Which sees us joining the Saints. After we complete our first mission, we get some cash and see that we gained a little bit of respect. You might not think much of it. After all, San Andreas has you earning respect after completing most missions, so it might just be like that.
Man, you owe so much cheese.
Good word, player. Word has gotten out that the Saints ain't bullshitting. Now we gotta lock our rep down.
You get a call from Julius that it's time to lock the Saints rep down, so you're directed to this mission marker, and when you walk into it... What? What's this? Not enough respect? A pimp hat icon. So, if you're not familiar with the Saints Row series, in Saints Row 1 and 2, most missions require you to have at least one bar of respect to start them. In Saints Row 1, the only missions that don't require you to have your respect bar filled are the missions with the Saint symbol, and there are only about 5 of those in the whole game. That means that a fair chunk of your game time is going to involve you playing activities to gain respect. In Saints Row 1, there are 10 different activities that you can participate in to earn respect. These include Snatch, Insurance Fraud, Mayhem, Hijacking, Chop Shop, Demolition Derby, Drug Trafficking, Racing, Hitman, and Escort. There are also some smaller diversions, which include tagging walls, stealing from safes, holding up stores, taking hostages in a car, or picking up the collectible CDs around Stillwater. The first level of every activity is fairly easy and is really just meant to get you familiar with how the activity works. With each level of the activity, it gets progressively harder up to a total of 8 levels. The number of cars you need to destroy or amount of damage you need to cause increases. When I was younger, this was something that would always cause my playthroughs to pause in Saints Row 1 and 2. I'd be into the story, then I'd get stopped and have to do an activity. The first couple of levels wouldn't be too bad, but I must have been pretty bad at the game because after a few levels I couldn't beat the activity. So what would often happen is I would start a playthrough, play some levels, get stopped by not having enough respect, and then just mess around the open world and get back to the story way later. The first time I beat Saints Row, I remember it was because I found out that I could easily start the hijack activity by jumping on top of a car and instantly warping inside. Then I would get a bit of a head start on the diversion. I did this over and over until I had enough respect to be able to continue. My most recent playthroughs of Saints Row 1 and 2 have been significantly shorter as I've got better at playing games, I think. Well, single player games anyways. This is because I'll hop into an activity and play multiple levels of them and have a ton of respect at one time without really going for it. Having this many bars of respect was unheard of when I was younger. So activities are a really big part of Saints Row, and a common theme you're going to see with different aspects of the Saints Row series is that activities peaked in Saints Row 2. In Saints Row 1, the activities are all pretty fun for the most part. Mayhem is pretty straightforward. You're given a set of weapons and you blow stuff up. If I remember correctly, Saints Row 2's iteration is pretty much the same, but most activities get expanded upon in the next entry, and some of the best activities are introduced in the next game as well. You'll be spending a good chunk of time doing these activities. Now, most of the time you're playing the campaign missions, but you will occasionally be stopped to do some activities and get some more respect. You might not like having to play activities to do the main missions in the game. I certainly didn't when I was younger, but most of the activities are really fun. And although they are fairly basic in Saints Row 1, most of them are a good time. So you have enough respect to play through the entire main storyline now, theoretically, because that's what I'm going to be talking about from here on out. So, spoilers for Saints Row 1. You start the second or third mission technically, and it involves you taking over a stronghold that belongs to the gang called the Los Carnales.
It's not the Los Carnales. Jesus, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I know, Dex, I'm just trolling you. So you take over this stronghold belonging to the Carnales and claim the neighborhood for yourself. Now you, Julius, and Troy are all headed to this docks area to participate in a big shootout between all the gangs. This is pretty much just as chaotic as the intro cutscene. Your gang comes out on top and you take the neighborhood too. Julius gives another speech and assigns each of his lieutenants a gang to oversee the dismantling.
Listen up, people. I got some serious shit to discuss. Yeah, we cleared out the road. You think for a second that's gonna stop them? Unless we wipe all these motherfuckers out, they're gonna keep coming. And they ain't gonna be happy. It ain't gonna be settled until the Carnales, the Rollers, and the Vice Kings ain't nothing but a memory. Dex, you got the Carnales. Ever since they hooked up with the Colombians, it's like they own this town. And with that drug money rolling in, we can't compete. Be smart how you move against them. The Lopez family been running that gang for 30 years. There's a reason they still around.
Got it.
Troy, you dealing with the Vice Kings.
Not a chance.
Fuck you say?
Anyone but them.
You scared of going against Benjamin King?
Man, fuck that. I'll take King out.
Johnny, it's not that simple.
Bullets still kill motherfuckers, right? Doesn't get much simpler than that.
Keep an eye on your boy.
I don't need a fucking babysitter, Julius.
Keep an eye on your boy.
Who's got the rollers?
I do.
Lynn?
The fuck you wearing blue for?
I asked Lynn to hook up with the Rollers. We don't know much about these fuckers, so I wanted one of us on the inside.
I didn't think the Rollers pimped hoes.
Any other comments?
Yeah, when you punch, don't throw your shoulders so much.
Shut up, Johnny.
Hey, I'm just saying.
Once we're done here, go talk to one of these guys. They'll have something for you to do. It's our time now. Let's get this shit started.
From this point on, you're given free reign on what order you want to tackle the gangs in. There are 3 gangs in Stillwater: the Carnales, the Vice Kings, and the Westside Rollerz. This gang is funny because they control the suburbs. Theoretically, you could just tackle each gang one by one, I don't think I've ever played this way though. I usually just do one mission for each gang at a time, but I always end up destroying the Rollerz first. Something about that just feels right. The gameplay most of the missions follow the same kind of level structure that you see in a lot of open world shooters. Drive to a location, hear some dialogue in the car on the way there, and do your objective. You boil down any game to that kind of structure though, and it's gonna sound boring. But the best open world games surround that gameplay with interesting characters and a world that makes you want to keep going through the story. You meet with different lieutenants to start missions, or you'll get a phone call. In both of these cases, you get to see some of the characters' personalities. Playing the game again when you're older allows you to recognize some of the cheesiness and cliches in the dialogue, but the characters here are all intriguing and are characters that I really wish we could see more of their backstories regarding how they joined and became lieutenants. First is Johnny Gat.
Then again, I don't look like I have an 8-inch cock, so I guess we're both full of surprises.
One of the 3 lieutenants that we met in Saints Row 1, Gat is the character that persists throughout every game. He makes an impression on you in this game by being the comedian of the gang, and is also probably the biggest psycho in the Saints besides yourself. He's the one in the gang that has the crazy plans and likes to shoot first and ask questions later.
Johnny, your idea of a plan is taking the biggest hammer you can find and smashing whatever's in your way.
Well, that sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah, a shitty one, as your whack-ass robo-leg clearly proves.
Oh, fuck you.
Next is Lynn. Lynn is probably the character that we get to spend the least amount of time with. From the cutscenes that we see with her, we get to see that she's one of the smartest members in the gang, besides one glaring issue that I will mention regarding the Rollerz arc, and she doesn't take shit from anyone. She's tasked with being undercover and infiltrating the Rollerz, so her role is a bit different than the other 2 lieutenants that you meet. Last is Dex, and Dex is my favorite lieutenant in Saints Row 1. He's probably the smartest and most level-headed member of the Saints. Although some of his missions are some of the most annoying in the whole series, his plans are always the most thought through, and always seem way less impulsive than Gat and even Lynn. These characters are all cliches of some kind. Johnny Gat is the comedic relief crazy guy who says vulgar things. Lynn is the angry tough woman character, and Dex is a smart guy who's always being the voice of reason. Just because it's a cliche though doesn't mean it's bad. I like all of these characters. Playing through the story and seeing all of their arcs playing out is a fantastic experience that I always have a blast going through even years later. Besides the main lieutenants that you spend a lot of time with throughout the game, you have the leader of the Saints, Julius, voiced by Keith David.
Ramirez!
Were it so easy.
Who seems to be a wise leader man at first, but as you play through the game and into Saints Row 2, you see that he's really just looking out for himself. Alongside Julius, you've already been briefly introduced to Troy.
That's Troy. You can thank him later.
Hey.
I'd say he's like Lynn, where we don't really get to learn a lot about this character's personality, but you still end up liking them throughout the game. Troy's personality and approach to things would end up being fleshed out a decent bit more in the next game too. Other notable side characters that you meet throughout Saints Row 1 are people like Aisha, Donnie, Tobias, Mr. Wong, and Legal Lee. All of these characters have, well, a lot of character, and it all gets fleshed out even more in Saints Row 2. You'll probably cross paths with all of these side characters as you play different activities to increase your respect levels. The main bad guys of Saints Row are Benjamin King, who runs the Vice Kings. He was friends with Julius, running this gang back in the 70s. The 70s? So these guys were born in the 50s? Saints Row Reboot failed the moment they didn't consider a 70-year-old Julius and Ben King. But the Vice Kings have been around for a while, and they're a gang and do criminal stuff, but they try to branch out and do more legitimate business ventures. But the first mission of the Vice King story shows them kidnapping girls and keeping them in this nasty-ass warehouse. Legitimate?
My ass.
From the sounds of it, Ben King doesn't really get down with that. That's more so the doing of his lieutenants, Warren Williams, Tanya, and Anthony, the Lopez brothers who have been
running that gang for 30 years.
And when I was younger, these guys seemed like such an organized and ruthless gang. On my recent playthrough, I'm surprised they've been around for
30 years.
Some fighting between the brothers, this crazy-ass guy, this fairly reserved guy who should be a bigger threat but gets assassinated pretty easily, and this crazy-ass guy. I just blew up his car and spammed RPGs at him. He's still chasing me. Last and least are Uncle and Nephew Price. Check his hard drive.
Temper, little girl. Look at you. All tied up pretty as a present. I think it's time to unwrap you.
I still don't really like the Rollerz even years later, and these bosses suck ass. This guy is a creep and his nephew is just a roid monster.
Will you stop smoking that shit? I need you to focus.
If you need me to focus,
I'd pass that shit back.
They have the least amount of character out of all the antagonists in this game. While playing through the Vice Kings missions, you get to see that Benjamin King himself is more focused on running the Vice Kings as a business conglomerate more than a gang. When Gat says that,
Some motherfuckers grabbed Aisha's sister right off the street.
and Dex replies with,
Kidnapping ain't King's style.
I mean, the guys we fight are Vice Kings, so it's gotta be his style, right? Well, as the story plays out, we see that's more like Tanya, Warren, and Anthony's style. Benjamin King has shit locked down. He has this big-ass music label that signs artists into these 360 deals that are so crazy that the musicians need to fake their deaths to get out of the contract. That alone makes me think they've got a lot of money. They're allowed to do a bunch of shit in broad daylight because Benjamin King is super buddy-buddy with this fucking stack of Play-Doh, so the cops don't do anything. They don't do anything until you put on a yellow shirt and destroy a bunch of stuff throughout the city. I like the story of this game, but holy shit, these characters have no critical thinking skills. The closest thing that we get to that is when the Rollerz deduce that Lynn is part of the Saints.
Lynn.
Bravo.
But the Vice Kings really do run Stillwater. Sure, the Carnales have been around for
30 years.
and they sell drugs, but the Vice Kings are far and away the most powerful gang in Stillwater. So when Warren Williams is bitching the whole time about Benjamin King not selling drugs to make even more money, I'm confused because
Warren, my man, you got the music scene locked down. I need you to bring in the cheddar, not get shot because you think you got something to prove.
I can do this!
Maybe, but we ain't gonna find out. We got the cops busting up 3rd Street for us, and we got Julius Lieutenant tied up in Anthony's condo. Everything's going our way right now, so just chill. Your time gonna come, Warren. It just ain't happening now. Understood?
Yeah, we straight.
Warren Williams would make a great Xbox executive, infinite growth at all costs. So Warren is really greedy, Anthony is just a big angry guy, and Tanya is super greedy. So with a combination of some out-of-control lieutenants and the Saints meddling, Benjamin King eventually loses control of the Vice Kings. The meddling in question involves the Saints rescuing these girls, helping Aisha fake her death to get out of her record contract with their label Kingdom Come, posing as Vice Kings and destroying things around Stillwater, and a lot more missions that are basically you going around somewhere and clearing it of enemies to progress the story. Once Benjamin King loses control of the Vice Kings, you get some unique missions. First, you have to rescue Benjamin King, which is just driving, okay. But the next time you get the Vice Kings to follow you while you take them to these police checkpoints where they just blow up the Vice Kings. No arrests, not even any words exchanged, just open fire. On the second last group, my car got destroyed by the cops during their time of destruction and Benjamin King couldn't handle it. He had to leave and made me do this all by myself. The last Vice Kings mission sees you going to take down Tanya, who is taking control of the Vice Kings after killing Warren Williams. Super greedy. But there's a slight problem. In this section, you need to drive erratically while the cops are getting increasingly upset at you, and you also need to keep this guy alive while he's being dangled out the window. This is a memorable part of the game and certainly a unique section, but I was getting really unlucky this time because I'd get the elevator code and then die on the way to the last objective, or I'll be at the objective and it just won't let me in and I'll die. So while I felt bad for this guy on the first attempt, by the time I was on my 5th attempt, I made sure I was driving fast when Benjamin King dropped him. So we go to the King Tower, or whatever it's called, and shoot our way through the building to get to Tanya. We have the elevator code, so now let's take the elevator up.
I'm gonna skull fuck that bitch.
Hope you don't mind hepatitis.
What?
Depending on the order you play these missions in, this might be the first thing you hear your character say. As far as I can remember, they only speak 4 times. Once in the finale for each gang, and then once at the very end of the gang. I'm not a super talkative fella. The voice that you hear is based on what race your player is. Something I didn't realize until recently was that the black player, or male voice 2, has the same voice actor throughout every Saints Row game. Anyways, we're at the top floor now, and everybody shoots Tanya. There's no boss fight or anything, just a cutscene, which I'm okay with. The Vice Kings are no more, and that's the end of the Vice Kings arc in this game. The Vice Kings are my favorite gang in Saints Row 1 overall when I look at the missions and story. Most of the missions are fun, and I think Benjamin King is the most interesting of all the gang leaders in Stillwater. That's probably due to his history with Julius, but I like the more business approach that he tries to take. This is also Johnny Gat's arc for this game, and while he is the less serious comedic relief character, you can kind of see what he cares about, that being Aisha and seemingly just causing mayhem. So not super deep, but you see him and the player develop a relationship and grow to trust each other. The Vice Gangs have been taken care of, so now let's focus on the Westside Rollerz. Every time I play through Saints Row, I destroy the Rollerz first. They definitely seem like the weakest, least organized gang and just race cars, I guessed. So the Saints Lieutenant Lin is tasked with going undercover and infiltrating the Rollerz. So while an undercover angle was cool to take on a gang, I feel like it wasn't explored nearly enough as it could have been. So this could have come down to being limited in how much they could implement in the story, given that there were 2 other gangs to focus on for the story, but it feels really rushed, and I'll tell you why. So Lin goes undercover and starts gathering information about the Rollerz, learning about their plans, stuff like that, undercover stuff. But Lin is not really smart about it at all. For some reason, every time she learns about the plan, she decides to tell the player to act on it immediately, every single time. It's really weird, especially considering that the leader of the Rollerz is clearly suspicious of this new person who's being brought around to where plans are being discussed. There is being careless, and then there's just being really stupid, which is how they decided to write Lin for the Rollerz arc. I get they needed to have the story wrap up in a set amount of time, but come on, replaying this now I was like, that's really stupid. These are all really specific plans too. So the missions for the Rollerz involve a bit more cars than usual, but are still pretty similar to the other gang missions. At first, you're meeting Lin at places like a bar or strip club, discussing your plans to sabotage the gangs. Like 3 missions in though, it devolves into you literally driving to the house where all these meetings are being held, and immediately sabotaging the gang. An early mission involves some cars that you stole and rigged with explosives, so now you're tasked with racing them and making them activate the nitrous and blowing up their cars. The mission that gets Lin brought into the fold is when you attack this garage and then Lin shows up acting like she's saving this one guy, Donnie. Then Donnie starts bringing her around and Price gets all suspicious because he's like, who is this random person that you're bringing to our confidential business meetings? And Donnie is like, hey, don't worry, she's cool. So Lin is like, well, yeah, I think you should worry about me because you know how you just planned on stealing a bunch of very specific set of car parts? This one random gang is going to attack you guys and let the shipments go on their way. They're not stealing the parts, they just want to make sure you can't have them. Oh, you don't know what the gang is called? Let me correct you and make sure you know their exact name.
My shop. I think they're the 5th Street Altar
The
Boys.
3rd Street Saints.
I know they need to wrap up the story in a set amount of time, but this shit is hilarious. So after about 20 seconds of deliberation, they figure out that Lin is probably the traitor. So then this creepy fuck is like, finally, I get to kidnap a woman and no one will bat an eye. And now you have to save Lin. This jackass kidnaps you and shoots you, but doesn't realize you're invincible, so you untie yourself, get out of the trunk that you've been placed in, swim up and chase him down. Now this shit is pretty badass, but holy shit, that's crazy plot armor. Maybe it's possible though. So you kill the creepy uncle and head back to the row, where Julius low-key blames you for Lin's death.
Looks like they found Lynn's body floating in the river this morning. Sorry, dog. I know you did everything you could.
Fuck you! You fucking dick!
I want to look at this as Julius saying, don't beat yourself up over it, but Julius is kind of a sneaky bastard who will insult you in low-key ways. Uh-oh, the Rollerz are angry.
These streets were ours before those bitches from the row showed up.
So now, Troy lets us know that the Rollerz are heading to the row. Julius plans to stop them, and this mission is pretty fun. Julius is driving and you're shooting rockets at enemies. Very fun gameplay. This will remain fun later on in the game, I'm sure of it. But because Julius crashes the car and it's hard to shoot an RPG while wearing a seatbelt, you're flung from the car and Price gets away. No need to fret because Suburb Roid Man wants to settle this like a man. Face to face, probably a fist fight or something. Okay, where is this guy? Nice. So you chase Price down and kill him, and you're greeted to another line of dialogue from your character.
That was a hell of an explosion. You okay, player?
I got ran over by a motherfucking truck. What do you think?
And that's the end of the Rollerz, the street racing gang that's very easily infiltrated and taken down. I'm kinda shitting on the Rollerz, and that's cause they're easily the worst gang in the game. They had a lot of potential with the street racing aspect, but the gameplay doesn't capitalize on that too much. And even the Rollerz as a gang don't capitalize on the cars and street racing aspects, besides their semi-truck that hauls cars around, and the fact that they have more tuner-style cars than other gangs. The undercover aspect had a lot of potential, but because of what were probably limitations on how many missions each gang could be given, they had to wrap it up quickly. Still, they could have spaced out the time between missions. It didn't have to be one act of sabotage after another. Lynn and the Saints could have waited a bit before attacking the gang again to lower the suspicion they draw and to give Lynn more time to build up trust. With how fast everything moves, it makes Lynn's death seem super avoidable, but they needed a character close to the gang to die, and I guess it made sense for the one who was assigned undercover. Now the last gang left in the city are the Carnales, who were assigned to Dex. Although not being the oldest gang in Stillwater, the Carnales have been around for
30 years.
And they are very organized. At the time the story is taking place, the Carnales are currently negotiating a big deal with the Colombians. Like Warren Williams said earlier, the Carnales are on top of the drug game, so you start out by messing with their drug shipments. The first Carnales mission is where you can see some of that strategic thinking that Dex will continue to use throughout the game. You can also see this very interesting exchange.
What if we came from here and here?
No, they just see it coming. Cops try that shit all the time and it never works.
Shit, you're right.
So Troy gets a tip of where the Carnales are cutting all their drugs, but Dex is like, no, we're not just gonna raid the factory all unprofessionally. First we need to steal this truck. Well, why, you might ask?
Shit, Troy, what's with all the questions? Why can't you be like my man over here?
So Dex doesn't tell us what we're doing with that truck, but we go ahead with the mission and we're joined by Troy, who is not a big fan of the Saints getting into the drug game. But he clearly has no issue with plowing his truck through a crowd of people if it means getting those drugs back to the row.
Alright.
This event causes some friction among the Carnales leaders, and the Colombian, who is, I don't know, the boss of Colombia Incorporated, I guess, is like, hey, I'm hitting on your girlfriend. Clearly you're crazy, but you can't really do anything about it. So then Angelo Lopez, the young one, is like, oh man, I hate this guy. Then his older brother is like,
Angelo, you are my brother and I love you. But if you let your dick fuck things up with the Colombians, I'm gonna cut it off.
So then the Carnales attack Saints Row. Okay, so they know who is responsible for messing with their stuff. Then you go ahead and take that truck from earlier, drive it into their base and blow the truck up. Troy is like, hey, I asked you what that truck was for, and Dex is like, hey, I guess you did. So Dex clearly has something going on, or he just doesn't like Troy or doesn't trust him or something. So next you go ahead and assassinate the older brother Hector, who is the main boss of the Carnales. Then Troy is like, hey, the leader of the Colombians is going to be at this strip club, and Dex is like, okay, well, we can just go meet with the leader of the Colombians, who we learned is named Orejuela, make a deal with them, and steal that from the Carnales. But then this crazy bastard Victor is sitting in the car waiting for you, and this guy chases your ass down the freeway. He's scripted to be invincible, but I blew his car up and was trying to get him to fall off the bridge. It was chaos, and it was almost like the third time I had to retry this mission because Victor's car is ridiculously fast. It will easily catch up to you and stay on your ass until it explodes, which usually caused my car to explode too. So you get back to the row, and Julius is not very happy that Dex took the initiative and went to go meet with the Colombians.
Is you went to talk to the Colombians without me.
We didn't even get to meet him, Jules.
And don't call me Jules, you haven't earned it.
Fine. Julius, you put me in charge of the Los Carnales. Shit, now you got me saying it.
Dex, do your job. Don't think you're bigger than you are. When it comes to the Colombians, you call me. Understand?
Victor isn't done with you yet though, because he brings some Carnales with him to attack Saints Row. Fortunately for you, he's not flagged as invincible this time, but he is really strong. I blew up his car and he went flying and he was on fire, and then a combination of the fire and us shooting just got to him.
What?
So after this, Julius meets with Orejuela and is like, well, let's make a deal. And Orejuela's like, sure, that works. Just get the drugs back from the second mission. Dex is like, well, let's shoot out the police station and steal the drugs. And Troy is like, that's super extreme. You can do this in a different, less violent way with your Johnny Gat-ass tactics. And Dex is like, okay, sounds good. So we get to this cool mission where you back the truck up into the evidence locker at the police station and steal back the drug. I remember finding this mission super difficult when I was younger, but it's not too bad now. But it wasn't the defense section that I should have been worried about, because the drive back is what got my ass. It only took me 2 tries, but look how close I was before my truck was driven off the road and stuck in this little train tracks area. So I got myself unstuck after some fighting and I was home free. There it is, the garage, the end of the mission.
You're out of options. Open fire! There he is, men!
So I had to redo that entire mission, and I don't know if I mentioned it at any point in this video before, but there are no checkpoints in Saints Row 1. Anyways, drugs secured and business with Orejuela and the Colombians can move forward.
How would you like to move forward?
Lo sabía! You'll die for what you did to my brother!
I wonder if he means us or Manuel.
Wait! I know where he'll go. That's where Angelo lives with his woman. Consider this payment for your act of good faith. When you go over there, I'd appreciate it if you didn't kill the señorita. We'll be in touch.
So Angelo only manages to hit this guy who was important enough to come along to this business meeting, and then he drives away. So Dex calls you and is like, come by the church because we have to deal with Angelo. So you swing by the church, and Dex emphasizes that going in guns blazing on an assassination mission isn't his style, but Angelo has it coming. So you storm his house, shooting everyone, weapon in hand, and then... Where's my gun? Dex, where's your gun? Oh man, well, time for a car chase. Fortunately though, Dex drives and you get to shoot the other cars that are chasing you. Alright Dex, stay on him. So Angelo gets away by driving across the raised bridge, and Dex is like, fuck that shit, and doesn't pursue. Fair enough. Well, now it's time for the last Carnales mission, where we see Angelo trying to escape Stillwater via plane. At first he's like,
Get your ass to the airport. What do you mean, why? Have you seen the house? We gotta get out of town.
Then he's like,
Taking off, you and you. Let's go.
What about Luz?
Fuck her.
So now we have what many consider to be the hardest mission in Saints Row 1. When I was younger, it certainly was, and up to this point in the campaign, it certainly is. This mission is a pain in the ass as you have Dex driving and you shooting an RPG from the passenger seat. Now, you're chasing Angelo's plane and navigating your way to the airport runway where you have to shoot all of these RPG guys before they hit you. Now this mission is annoying because your car is going to inevitably take too much damage and you're like 99% of the time going to have to retry this mission at least once. Something you can't really plan for is your Xbox freezing when the plane has 1% health left. Okay, looks like this is my second attempt. I only had about half a second of footage of that one. So on my third attempt I finally managed to destroy the plane and take out Angelo once and for all. And as the tradition goes with the last mission of each gang...
So what's in here? Guns? Money? Some uncut shit? Shoes?
Actually, they're this season's new.
Bullshit, that's last year's fall collection.
So with the Carnales taken out, the only gang left standing are the Saints, and you see this cutscene solidifying it all.
We did it, player. 3rd Street owns this town. Now, that's not to say shit didn't cost. And I ain't talking about what happened to Johnny's leg or losing limb. Those two were soldiers. They knew the risk. Hell, Johnny gets off on it. We crushed a lot of families, player. And someday they're gonna holler at us. But believe me when I tell you, we did the right thing. With the Rollerz wiped out, Benjamin gone, and the Colombians in our pocket, there ain't gonna be a need for a gang war ever again. And in the end, that's gonna save a lot more lives than we took. So relax, player. You earned yourself a break. You've impressed the hell out of me, son. And I told the crew, you're gonna be my right hand. Hold up. Some berry just turned on his flashes. Yeah, player. I think I'm gonna have to call you back. This may take a while.
Just say the word.
So besides that cheesy S2000s part at the end of the cutscene, this scene ties the whole game together, showing the results of your work throughout the game, the positives and the negatives. All your work and your invincibility have earned you a spot as Julius's right-hand man. You own the city now. And then Julius gets pulled over and the credits roll. Wow, what a game. Hey, there's another mission. Ooh, it has the Saint symbol, which means I don't need to use respect to start this one. We start the mission and get a phone call from the police chief who tells us that he's holding Julius for ransom, and unless we complied with his blackmail, Julius is dead. So you do what he says and assassinate the current mayor, who is on track to be re-elected. This is because his rival in the election, Alderman Hughes, is losing the election, who you may remember as that stack of Play-Doh that Ben King was paying off to allow the Vice Kings to operate in Stillwater. Well, you hijacked Mayor Marshall Winslow's campaign bus and leave it on the subway tracks. Now, let's get Julius back.
Nice work, but I don't think I can let Julius go until you do a little more community service. We'll be in touch.
Looks like we wait.
Why? So we can let this jag-off jerk us around? Fuck that!
And what would you rather do?
You know exactly what I'd like to do.
Johnny, we're not blowing up City Hall.
Hey, I'm just saying, it would solve a lot of problems.
What if they're keeping Julius there?
Alright, but there's gotta be a better plan than let's be Monroe's bitches.
You're right, there is. Marshall Winslow was a major public figure, and you can bet your ass that people would ask questions if the chief of police wasn't at his funeral. I say we hit Monroe during the funeral procession. That should show whoever he's working with that we're not fucking around.
You're saying we should assassinate the chief of police while he's at the funeral of the guy we just smashed?
Yeah.
Don't tease me, Dex.
Let's fucking do it.
Well, I didn't think it would be that easy. Now for the last mission of Saints Row, and in my opinion, the hardest mission in the game. The mission Up Up and Away where you kill Angelo was tricky, but this mission is kinda downright unfair. The mission involves you assassinating the police chief who's holding Julius ransom while he's on his way to the funeral of the guy you killed in the previous mission. I only have gameplay of my first attempt. I forgot to unpause the recording on the one where I actually succeeded. Well, I guess right before the end of the mission I unpaused it, but man, the FBI in this game are way too fast, and the forgive and forget that the mission marks for you is in a bad spot. It took me probably like 3 or 4 tries before I looked closely at the map and saw there was a forgive and forget a lot closer than the one that the map was leading me to. Anyways, this mission sees you assassinating the police chief, and it goes a little wrong as you don't know what car he's in. So Johnny Gat just shoots RPGs at the convoy and you blow up all the cars. Then you get relentlessly chased and you have to go to forgive and forget. Well, the police chief is dead, so how do we get Julius back?
Hello there, young man. This is Alderman Hughes. That was quite a message you sent at Winslow's funeral. And trust me, I heard it loud and clear. Now, I'd like to set one thing straight. It was Monroe's plan to strong-arm the Saints. Personally, I've always thought you and I could have a much healthier relationship. Now, we've had a rocky start, yes, but why don't we fix that? Come over to my fundraiser tonight. Julius will be there, and between the 3 of us, I'm sure we can work something out.
Ooh, a fundraiser. Alright, time to eat.
Your guest is here, Mr. Hughes.
Thanks, Stephen. If you don't mind, could you wait outside? I'm Richard Hughes. It is a pleasure to meet the man who handed me the election. No need to be modest, I'm serious. There's no way I could have beaten Marshall Winslow. God rest his soul. But you made the impossible happen, and for that, I can't thank you enough. I mean, had Winslow been the only person killed, attention would have definitely been cast on me. But after that fireworks display you pulled at his funeral, it's become abundantly clear these horrible crimes were perpetrated by the 3rd Street Saints. While before people criticized my Saints Row urban renewal plan, it is now being lauded. See, until you came along, I was displacing poor people. Now, I'm destroying a hotbed of gang activity. What can I say? The public is fickle. Champagne. As you get older, you quickly learn that there are only 2 types of people in this world. Race, money, gender, none of this matters. At the end of the day, you're either a winner or a loser. Now, the sad truth about our situation is that in order for me to be a winner, I have to level your neighborhood and salt the earth. Hold on for a moment. Stephen, could you come in here? Where was I? Oh yes, salting the earth. Now, I suppose I could try to pay you off. But really, what's the point? You just say no. Or in your case, stand there looking intimidating, and we'd be right back to where we started. So I figured I'd cut the middleman and get right to the point.
Yo, can you speed this shit up? I want to go to Freckle Bitches.
You're going to die here, son. Make no mistake about that. But if it makes it any easier on you, I'll be sure to thank you in my acceptance speech. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a party to...
Well, the player gets blown up on an empty stomach, and that's the end of Saints Row. The end credits roll again, this time for the game designers, and you get to sit with your character being killed after all the work you put in. But before that, there's a lot to this cutscene. You and Alderman Hughes are on his yacht, while Hughes explains his master plan. Then you see Johnny sleeping and Aisha looking at her watch. You see Luz standing on this bridge looking at the water. Ben King also appears to be at the same bridge too. But in the earlier cutscene, he got on a plane and presumably left Stillwater. Donnie is shown, but he's not looking as suspicious. But then you see Julius, and he's free. He's not locked up anymore. He's looking at the boat. Then he turns around and looks at his watch while walking away. We don't even have time to think about that before we see Troy standing there, looking at a police badge. Damn it, Troy.
I play for the Cucamonga Cracker Killers. You won't take it?
Hey, don't want any trouble with you. You don't have to send your posse out here to do 187 in my ass. Just got a little mail for you to sign. Partner.
Cops try that shit all the time and it never works.
Shit, you're right.
And you get to hear the player talk for one last time. It's quite the ending with a couple of twists. Throughout the whole game, you can see hints of Troy being a cop. The random tips that he'll get throughout the game that get missions rolling. The thing where he does the cop tactic.
The police station thing, his shitty haircut, you got cop written all over you.
And Julius, watching the meeting going down, looking at his watch seconds before the boat explodes? Wow, so Julius set us up, huh? While Aisha's looking at her watch, it could have been her. And why are Luz and Ben King all at this bridge? Troy is here too. Everyone is here to watch me die. That's kind of crazy. Well, I'll chalk Aisha looking at her watch up to her not being able to fall asleep, and she's like, oh man, it's already 3. It was like 1:30 15 minutes ago, and Johnny's just fast asleep. So it was Julius. He promotes you to second in command, gets arrested, then sells you out. Wow. But you know what's just a bit crazier than that? It's the fact that Julius wasn't planned to betray you. Like at all. That was not in the script. That was not a factor in the story whatsoever. The only thing that makes Julius the one to betray you is the ending cutscene. Take a look at this clip from this Volition livestream.
Huge. So Saints Row 1 ends with this, it was supposed to be this cliffhanger ending of, you know, the bomb blows up and the player is caught in this explosion and everyone to find who set the bomb, who set the bomb. And I remember I finally watched the cutscene when I came back. I was always excited to see, ooh, what does this cutscene look like? And I watched the ending cinematic of the game, and it's like everyone is like cutting away to this boat, and you're kind of people like looking at classifying who's, you know, like who could be the person, who could be the person. And then there's this one shot where it's Julius standing looking at his watch and looking at the boat, like what the fuck is this? Like, I'm like oh my god, like what happened? And be like, what do you mean? Like in the script it says that he's running down an alleyway, broken and bloody, like he just escaped capture and he's running for his life. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, he's supposed to be like scared. Like, what happened? And so, but then they changed it in the final cinematic. It's him like, yep, throw that shit up. And so, like, oh man, I guess Julius is guilty. And what ended up happening was it was in the mocap shoot. They had the animatic, it was in T-pose, and it was Julius was in T-pose, and they had him sliding down a road. And so the guys at the shoot were like, well, fuck, dude, we don't want to go and have to capture, we don't want to capture this guy, like, running. What's the pain in the ass? We'll just have him standing there looking at his watch, he's in T-pose. And so they did that, and it totally changed the whole franchise. We're like, oh, holy fuck, like, oh, yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tim Borelli.
Did he not even have a watch on?
No, it's ridiculous. And like, but so then like, well, what do we do for Saints Row 2? Like, well, Julius killed the player because like, what else are we gonna go and do? Because he clearly he's standing there checking out his watch. And if anyone's other than Julius that blew up this boat, then we're lying to everybody. Like, this is the this is the moment. And so yeah, we totally
know that backstory.
No,
Yeah,
we totally
so I've been
changed.
waiting
We totally changed
7
the
years to...
the direction of the franchise. Yeah, it was,
unintentionally.
So yeah, Saints Row 2's story was made the way it was because the people at the mocap shoot didn't want to capture footage of the guy running. Okay, I don't know how complicated mocap is, especially back in like 2005, 2006. That's really early motion capture as far as I know. So maybe it would have been significantly more work to capture Julius running than him walking away looking at his watch. But yeah, that changed the whole direction of the franchise. I wonder how much that specific change affected the rest of the cutscene, because everyone else that they show looks suspicious besides Donnie. That's kind of disappointing. I mean, I love the way they did Saints Row 2's story, especially with how they wrapped up Julius's story, and the other Saints Lieutenants of Saints Row 1 that you get to know throughout the game. But what would the world have looked like if Julius had been animated in the way that the writers intended? If he didn't betray the player, but had instead presumably just escaped from the police station? With the way Troy is standing here, presumably looking at the boat while he's holding his badge, maybe he planted the bomb? Who knows, but in this timeline, Julius set the bomb and forgot his watch at home. So Saints Row 1 is a great game with a cheesy-ass story and some dated gameplay mechanics, but it is such a good time every time I play through this game. It's not a very long game, maybe about 10 hours if you just focus in on the story, but there are all the activities that you can complete throughout the world. The only thing is, every single one of these activities have been improved upon in Saints Row 2, but there are still value to the Saints Row 1 activities. It's such a shame that this game is stuck on the Xbox 360 and will likely be that way forever. Volition is dead and Deep Silver owns the Saints Row IP. Does the Saints Row 1 and 2 port really look like good money to Deep Silver? I don't know what good money looks like to that stupid ass company, and as a result the Saints Row series is dead. But back in 2006 the series was just beginning, and despite being exclusive to the Xbox 360, this game was great and saw enough success to warrant a sequel. A PS3 port for Saints Row 1 was in the works, but once Saints Row 2 began development, Volition moved everyone to Saints Row 2. This leads me to believe that the port for the game was being done in-house, so it probably would have turned out much better than Saints Row 2's PC port, which was outsourced. Anyways, emulation for Saints Row 1 has improved a lot from what I've seen, so now it's a lot more available, which is great. For a long time, this game was only playable after you had a 360. This Metal Gear Solid 4-ass game. I really thought Master Collection Volume 2 would have been out by now, so that everyone without a PS3 can experience that game. I don't know how the emulation for MGS4 on the RPCS3 is, as I prefer watching movies on my TV, but at this point I'm just getting off track.
Oh, wait! We're on PlayStation 3! It's a Blu-ray disc.
Anyways, play this game if you have a way to play it, because Saints Row 1 is a great game, and you'll love it even more after playing Saints Row 2, which I'll cover down the line. I mean, play Saints Row 1 and then play Saints Row 2, and then you'll love Saints Row 1 even more. Don't play them backwards, which you can do, I guess, but... So that's it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. Thanks for the support on my last few videos. It's been awesome to see. This is the first video where a majority of my gameplay was captured with a capture card. That's why there's like issues with the screen. Could be related to the frame rate actually. I don't know. I need to look at the settings. It could also be because I'm using one of those cheap capture cards that are available now. I mean, it's kind of glitchy, but trust me, being able to capture 360 and PS3 footage for like $30 is crazy. I remember saving up money and buying a Dazzle for like 70 bucks or something when I was a kid because I wanted to record my gameplay. Then I couldn't get it to work, so I had to return it to Best Buy, all defeated. The other option was a Hauppauge or Elgato. I think the Hauppauge was already old and obsolete, and to be honest, so was the Dazzle, but it was better than the other option I had, which was the Easy Cap. So this $30 capture card is kind of awesome if you think about it. Alright, now it's the end of the video. Thanks for watching, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all later.